Hello and welcome. I'm Darren, and today we are going to do a kind of a video on the newest build. I say it's the newest build, it's not really a newest build, it's more of a case swap. So I did a thing. I did a thing that I didn't really need to do, but I did a thing because aesthetically I knew it would be pleasing for what I was looking for. So the NR200P Max V2 was what I was using as my system for the 9070 XT with the 7800 X3D. No problem with that at all. Awesome little system. Really good value, exactly as I said. I don't think that you're going to get a package, especially if you can pick it up on some sort of Black Friday deal or anything like that. I don't think you're really going to find a package which is going to give you that much value. And again, as I said in those videos, if it's something that you're kind of looking at doing, certainly if it's your first look into ITX, because ITX cases can be a bit of a nightmare. This case was not easy to build in. It wasn't terrible, but there was a lot of, obviously, cable management, and I did have some issues. I knew I was going to have some issues, and that's what this video is about, basically. So the NR200P, like I said, it's cable managed pretty much for you from the off. So you take it out the box, there's a lot of cables that are already in a pretty good place, already routed into pretty good places. Unless you're changing fans like I did and you're just using the pre-installed fans and stuff like that. It's, as far as an ITX build goes, I don't think you're going to get an easier ITX build. And then add on to it, obviously, you've got your PSU installed, you've got your water cooler installed. It really is quite a simple build. This was not. Now, this wasn't because I had to do some modification. I always liked the look of the Fractal Era when I saw it. It was a style that I quite like. Some people might look at it and think that it looks a bit like a toaster or something like that. I can understand that. I looked at it and thought it kind of looks a bit like a kind of, aesthetically to me, I like obviously Fractal North cases with the walnut front. I like that design. So Fractal have nailed it in terms of the design that I like, and I think they've nailed it for quite a lot of people. So it's a design I liked. I thought this would look amazing on my desk space next to the other Fractal case. It's got the wood on it, and the problem that I had with it was compatibility. Now, when I bought the 9070 XT, it was a bit of a nightmare. Obviously, day of launch, I probably should have waited, but things were a little bit awkward. Websites had gone down. One of the websites I'd found out the day before was going to refuse to sell me anything because of my location. I think they're still doing the same thing, so whatever. And options were getting very slim very quick. So I ended up buying the Gigabyte Aorus Elite. It's fine. I've got no kind of real issues with it. It probably wasn't the model that I was going to go for originally, but I don't think it was a bad model to go for. It seems to be pretty much there or thereabouts in terms of most stuff. So temps are kind of there or thereabouts. It seems to clock really well. Obviously, all GPUs are different. It doesn't matter if you've got the same brand. Obviously, yours might clock at something. If you've hit the silicon lottery, it might clock a couple of 100 megahertz above. I don't know how I did in that terms, but as far as it goes, watching the hardware unbox thing today where they were going through, I think they kind of had mine clocked at 2,700 and something megahertz, which seems a little bit low because I've never seen it go below 3,000, and I've seen it kind of more around 3,000, kind of 200. I've seen it hit 3,300, so in that terms, it's fine. In a full-size case, when I was running it in the case that the 7900 XTX is in, that is the... God, I can't think of it now. H6 Flow. Who makes the H6? Oh, God. I can't think of it. The name's gone out of my head. But anyway, that case is, there's a lot of cooling power in that case, and it also has two 140mm fans directed directly below the GPU, and it's pretty much got its own cooling down the side, which is kind of directed towards the CPU. So you are kind of isolating the GPU and giving it its own cooling, whereas obviously in an ITX case, everything kind of gets jammed in together. So your GPU is going to get hot. It's never going to get rid of the hot air as easy as what it will in a full-size case, and then it's going to throw it into the CPU. So there's a little bit of a challenge to do in any type of ITX case. The problem that I've had is it is now summer. It is red hot. And trying to undervolt this GPU at the moment is giving me an absolute nightmare. I've had some frustration with it tonight because it seems that no matter what I do, it will run fine for maybe 2 or 3 hours and then it will just crash. Trying to play Tarkov, any Tarkov players out there will know that a crash in Tarkov is not good. It does allow you back into the game, but anyway. So undervolting has been a frustration for me at this moment in time. If anyone's got any kind of real knowledge on that, let me know. I've tried a number of different things. I've been trying to, even if I just drop the power limit. So obviously power limits at 0, you can go plus 15% on the power limit. You can drop it, I don't know. I've tried dropping it I've tried dropping it 20%, and that does pull the wattage down to like 270 watts. It will crash. I've undervolted. I had a really nice undervolt, which was actually giving me more performance than stock. So it was running around 30. It was still boosting to like 3200 megahertz. I'd managed to get the power down to about 260 watts. So temps were really low and it was running really nice, but still crashed. And I've tried undervolting it to like 30, still crashes. Tried undervolting it to 100 and it might last as long as when it crashed at 30, but it just seems to be, it refuses. It seems to me like it wants to either run at stock or crash. So that has been quite frustrating. But anyway, getting it in. So let's have a quick look. Obviously, this is a bit of a nightmare. Camera there, desk here, not a lot of room. But obviously, there's a picture of it on the front. We're going to go to the website where we can have a better look at it. But kind of, if you want to kind of gauge for size, so it's a bit taller than the NR200p, but it's about the same length. So you can see there's a front there, front I/O, very clean down at the bottom. And then I'll show you this side, obviously little fractal design stamped there in the aluminium, holes punched in the aluminium. Now the sides are aluminium, the front is plastic and the rear is kind of, there's a bit of plastic, but obviously you've got all the I/O there. And then the top, which has quite a cool design where you just push down at the back and it flips open on magnets. So that's a pretty cool design, and you can see that's like quite a nice walnut color, pretty awesome. Goes perfect with the style that I've got on the other PC. So that was my kind of main reason for doing it. I think it looks pretty class. Like, to me, it's like one of those. I kind of said it. If an adult designed a console, this would be it for me. It's perfect design. It is not the most. When I saw this going for, I think, around about £160 in the UK. I think it's about 159, which I think is quite expensive for this, just for the case. There is some really good design in this. So this entire unit is all one piece. Back, the sides, and the front are all attached together. It's all kind of like a unibody. And effectively what you do is you pull out the dust filter at the rear, and what that does is, you can see there's a little lock sign there. It unlocks the latches going around which hold the unibody down, and then the whole case just lifts up, and then you've got your chassis, which is like a sandwich design. So CPU one side, kind of upside down ITX motherboard orientation, and then your GPU the other side in its kind of horizontal or vertical in its vertical mount. And then it's so that's quite a cool design. I like that. I like the way it latches down. Pretty awesome. And then there's a couple of like other designs that are kind of similarly used with like springs and latches in just like the rad panel at the top. So that has some kind of latches that you pull back, and then that just lifts up. So you don't need obviously screwdrivers or anything like that. There's no mechanical attachments. It's just on latches, and then when it goes back down, it kind of clips around it. So that's some cool designs. And I can understand that obviously wood, that's going to add to the cost. This is aluminium. It would be way more premium. It would be nice if the rear and the front were also aluminium, because you can kind of tell that they're a slight different texture. Anodized aluminium is a little bit rougher, and then the plastic on the front, even though it's got kind of a matte, rough finish to it, it's still, you can tell it's a different texture, and it's a slightly different shade because of that. I'm a painter by trade, like a vehicle painter, so that's stuff that I notice, and you're never going to get these two materials to look the same color. It's not a mile off. You can maybe see it here. It would be hard to say because this might make it look a little bit worse in these lights, but obviously you can tell there, texture-wise, that it's a little bit rougher on the aluminium. So it's kind of a shame that even if the rear didn't need to be, the rear could have stayed plastic, but it's a shame that the front wasn't aluminium. That would, to me, would make it more premium. So there's not a lot I can show you in terms of the system here. That's about it. I'm going to get it out of the way because I'm going to just pop up another Fractal design case because I am a Fractal design fanboy. That's one thing that I'll admit to being. I'm a Fractal design fanboy. I was talking to Terra about it. Funny enough, Terra's got a case made after him because it's called the Fractal Terra, believe it or not. I'd buy it. If they made a Fractal Spratty, I'll buy it. So this is more premium case because it is all aluminium. So that's another kind of the problem with this case is it's very limited. I had a 4070 Founders card in it, which my daughter has hijacked. When she, or if she gets an upgrade, it'll probably go back in it. So you can see again, walnut design on the front. It's kind of got the matching color power button, which is pretty cool. Obviously, it's quite limited on the I/O on the front, just one USB and one USB-C. Kind of, I forgot there was some dirt on it, and I've now left a funny smear on it, so kind of ignore that. But yeah, really cool design. Top that just pulls off for when you're building it, just slides back and pulls off with a little lever tab at the back. Pretty cool. And then it's got these kind of gull wing doors that open. I think this is the GPU side. Yeah, GPU side. So you can tell this is small. It's limited. 47 Founders was a bit small in here. You could go bigger. How big? I'd have to double check the specs. And then obviously this side, very limited. I hope I haven't stained that because it kind of looks like I have there. But I'm sure I can fix it. At worst, I'll have to paint it. So you can see here, like very limited, a very small cooler. There is actually a motherboard in there at the moment. It is a old Intel 11600K, I believe. It's basically the wife's computer because she only ever works from home on random occasions. So I think it was an old system that I was kind of getting rid of. So I bought this case and threw it in it so that she could use it and have something to work from home, but it was something that literally lives under the shelf underneath my desk because it's so small, which is really handy. So the Era 2. Not the Terra, the Era. So what I had to do, because it was a bit of a nightmare. I knew it was going to be a nightmare, and it was going to be a nightmare because of the GPU I have. This case does not support the GPU I've got. I can't really show you now because I don't want to pull it apart. I can do probably another time, but I can go to the product page and I can show you exactly, hopefully, I can show you pretty much what it is. We'll give you a guide on what I had to do, because as far as it goes, let's go to the product page and we will just check. So here it is, the Fractal Era. We have two. I was actually quite impressed because this did show the difference. I forgot on the first iteration that it had a solid lid, which I can imagine was the major reason why it was a complete and utter hotbox. Obviously lacking the same amount of ventilation down the side, so there's actually quite a difference. It's probably stayed similar footprint, maybe. I mean, you can kind of tell by some of the designs in it, some of the lines in it, that it's obviously trying to take it on, but it's just improved everywhere. It's actually got quite a cool angled lower part of the chassis, which kind of draws air in but still allows it to be low to the floor. So as you can see, it's available in a couple of colours. I've got it in the grey, there's the blue, or there is the silver, which kind of looks randomly white in that picture, but it's definitely silver. So I don't think this is going to show me everything that I need to see. No. Luckily I found, so you can kind of just about see it there. So there's a pass through here where the GPU can pass through, but that doesn't tell the full story. I have found another picture that does. So this is someone passing through a GPU. What that doesn't probably show you, well, no, it does, is that, although we can't actually see the PCB on that, effectively, it needs to pass through this hole and then drop down below this, but then the end of your GPU has to come down to here, so it has to sit inside. It can't hang through this hole because it's too high. Now, effectively, what I had to do was cut down to just above this tag that loops over the edge of the case, which holds this bracket. So I cut down to here, and that allowed my GPU to sit at the height it needed to be. It allowed it to clip down into the PCI 16 slot, and it allowed the end of the GPU to poke through here. Not by a lot. You can't come through by a lot. It's not coming through by a lot. It's probably coming through about 5-6 millimeters maybe. You can see obviously you've got room, but what you don't see is, and I can't show you any pictures, is that wasn't the whole problem. So this is founder's card. They're quite narrow. The other problem was, once I'd cut this out and I could get my GPU in, I wasn't able to lift it high enough in the case to lift it over the top of to lift the PCB over and be able to slot it down, because the power supply was in the way. That was fine. That was simple. There's a couple of screws holding that on. Basically undo the screws, pull it out, which just leaves the cable, which obviously doesn't take up any room. Slot the GPU in, push it back in, re-screw it. That was fine. That wasn't a problem. I did manage to pick up, so you can see here probably a little bit of a clearer picture. I basically cut down here, using like a Dremel with a cutting disc on it, cut down here, and then cut down here, and then came along here, and just cut that extra bit out, and that allowed the GPU to basically sit on this end, and it was that allowed it to be at the right height. So that was the first thing I had to do. I'm not going to be able to find any pictures. I've had a little scour around the internet and I can't find anything, because the other thing that I had to do was actually remove... there you go. It's a shame I can't. How do you zoom? How do you zoom on Google? There is a way of doing it, isn't there? Zoom. There we go. Oh, no. So, this actually, yeah, you can just about see it. So inside here is like these like honeycomb plastic parts. I had to cut some of this out. So again, with the cotton disc, had to cut down. I didn't have to do this top section because, oh no, I did have to take a little bit off the top section. I had to do, it's in like 3 sections, and then there's a gap in between. So I had to cut a pocket out, and then cut it along here, and then cut it along there, and remove it out. And I had to do that on a couple of them. Again, bit of a nightmare, but it's given me what I wanted, which is, like I said, you don't see any of that. It's not, I did it as neat as I could. I wasn't going to spend too much time on doing anything crazy with it because you're just never going to see it. So that was the other thing I had to do. And like I said, the power supply, that's just undo those screws, pull it out the way, get the GPU in, screw it back in, job's a good one. That's about it. Not great. And it's kind of the annoying thing with cases, which I'm going to admit I do find a little bit shocking, of how many cases I own that leave me thinking, what were you thinking? Like, seriously, when you made this, what was going through your head? Like, this could easily be manufactured. To have this slightly redesigned here and have this hole come in here so that your GPU doesn't have to go, and it would make the difference of so many other GPUs being able to fit, because it is quite restrictive. You're talking like the GPU that I've got is one of the longest. It's longer than like the Sapphire or something like that. It is actually a long GPU. So, I don't know. It just seems to me like there's a few little missed things. The other problem with this case is it says it will take a 240 or a 280 millimeter liquid cooler in the top. I had to then do a lot of fabrication to get my 280, and not actually really to the case that much, more to the actual cooler. No, I did actually have to do a couple of things to the case. I'm not going to be able to show you here, or can I? Now, effectively, this top, you can see there's a little, well, it might look like a screw in this picture, but there's a rivet there, there's a rivet there, there's a rivet there. So there's a rivet in all 4 corners. And if you know what a rivet is like, it has very overhanging ends to it where it's gone in and squeezed up and it's left this overhang. Fitting a 280 in goes right into the corners, and the 280 liquid cooler that I was using literally did fill. It is the exact size of this frame. So with the rivets sticking in, the rivets were in the way, so I had to grind the rivets out. It's still folded metal, so it doesn't really go anywhere. Well, I didn't grind the rivets completely through, but it wouldn't take much for me. I pretty much ground most of the inside of them out. I then actually had to take a bit of meat off the rad. It's kind of quite thick aluminium. It's fine, it's not leaking. If it was going to leak, it would have done it by now, so it ain't going to leak. So take that with a grain of salt. As in, it won't fit all 280 millimeter. Now, I'm going to assume, let me just check on their product page. I don't know. What do they give? Top radiator. Okay. So they do actually give you measurements, which is interesting. I see on the actual product where I bought it, it was kind of saying 240 or 280 mil. I think it did say with some exceptions. So there you go. 240, you're going to be fine. 280 mil, I'm going to guess, it wouldn't surprise me that Fractal probably do. Well, no, I know they do. I don't know why I'm saying they probably do. They will do a 280 millimeter, 280 millimeter. There you go, liquid cooler. I'm going to guess that one probably fits in, and I can probably guess quite well because those rivets would go here and here. Now the liquid cooler that I was using, it comes flush here, so the rivets wouldn't be able to sit into where it goes. So I reckon the 280 mil liquid cooler that I'm using is slightly bigger than this. They've probably allowed for their own brand, which is where they've taken their measurements off, and they've not really, because you can see there's quite a bit of room there that would fill out where the rivet head would go, so, or the rivet ass end basically. That kind of makes sense. Is my zoom going back to normal? It says. So that's kind of that. Now I'm gonna do some videos because I'm gonna try. It's a bit awkward now because of how the temperatures are now from when I was using the NR 200p, which was kind of very early on in the year. It's now gone from like being 20 degrees in my house to being over 30 degrees in my house. I don't have aircon. We don't really have, in Guernsey, we don't really have aircon in houses. So it's really hot. And obviously 10 degrees rise in the house means 10 degrees rise on the PC. And that is quite brutal. I am trying my best. I want that PC to run as quiet as this one, and this is literally whisper quiet. I'm running the radiator on that whisper quiet. I'm running the fans in the bottom are whisper quiet. I'm now trying to find a way. If I can get the undervolt to work, then I will be alright, because that GPU at 1500 RPM is whisper quiet, and when my undervolt is working, that system there sounds as quiet. And to be fair, the NR200p probably wasn't quite as good thermally. It wasn't bad. It made a bit more noise. I don't know what it was about the case, but it made a little bit more kind of turbulence or air noise over what this one does. This one's actually very quiet for a ITX build. So I need to get my undervolt to work. I need to get it to stick. It might be, I'm going to try it with a different driver. I'm going to mess around with it a bit tomorrow. I'm going to see what I can do. The other thing is I will probably change the fans for the new Noctuas. So there's obviously the NFA 12, whatever they are, the Noctua best fans that I'm running in this. So I'm running like the 140 version on there. There is new versions of the 140s and there's new versions of the 120s. So I'm going to, probably next month, I'm going to order those. I'm going to put those in there. I'm going to see if those will allow me to knock the fan speed up another couple of 100 RPM and sound as quiet as what it is now, and that will help out as well. But to be fair, in a couple of months, like I said, the temperature will drop 10 degrees in the house and then it will be absolutely super cold. So that's what I want to do. That's the plan. I'm going to see if I can do it, and when I can, we're going to get some videos and we're going to show exactly how I managed to do it, because I'm not sure about the fan orientation. Now, I've watched a couple of reviews on the case. I wouldn't have bought it if I hadn't, because the Era 2 was a complete and utter hotbox. Now the Era 2 the Era 1 was a complete and utter hotbox. Terrible ventilation, did not work. The Era 2 is actually, as far as the reviews go, very good, apparently, on its temps. So, like I said, it's a bit of a shame that I managed to build it in the hottest week that we've had in Guernsey the entire year. So it's hurting a little bit at the moment. It's not bad, but if I run the fans as quiet as what I'm running them now, and I don't do any undervolting to the GPU, it will go up to around about 2000 RPM on its fans, and it's a little bit noisy at that. It's not horrendous, but if I undervolt it, it will go down to 1500 RPM on the fans, and it's whisper quiet, but it's just not holding the undervolt. I had it running the other night for 2 hours, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I've got this sorted now. This system's awesome. It's super quiet, and then it crashed. And then I've messed around with a few other undervolts. I tried lowering it a little bit. I ended up going all the way down to just like 30. I think it was like minus 30 millivolts. And even then, it was the same thing. And that was even like crashing after just like half an hour. I'm like, what the hell? Even the 80 millivolts, which I was running at first, that stuck for like 2 hours. So I don't know. I mean, it might be a Tarkov issue. It has just had its wipe. It's not unlike Tarkov to have kind of issues. I've literally just turned the NVIDIA, the 4080 build on to do this video, and I'm gonna run Tarkov in a minute. I'm going to have to run it for longer tomorrow because I'm not going to have time to run it for too long tonight, but just to see if there's any crashes on that. And then go from there. So that's it. That's where I'm at the moment. I'm kind of end game on that. End game on that build. End game on that build. XTX build is kind of end game. Like I said, it's not the most premium ITX case that you're going to get. You can get like the N cases, which are all like aluminium, kind of a lot more flashy, more expensive. And then you've got like your Thor cases and stuff like that. Those are pure like proper machined aluminium, proper cases. This is... It's more it just matches the look. It matches the look of what I've got going on my desk. I've got greys, I've got blacks, I've got golds, and then I've got a lot of walnut. I've got walnut speakers. I've just got walnut and wood and aluminium, and it just looks perfect. So it's the perfect case for me. Nothing wrong with the NR 200p Max. I'm going to do a build for my son in that, so that's not going to waste. It'll be perfect for him because he's going to be limited on size in his bedroom once that actually gets sorted. And then that'll be the ideal case that he can have his build in. So that's it. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know in the comments what you think, if there's anything that you want to see. If you want to see any kind of pictures of the hacking that I did, it doesn't look particularly pretty, but it doesn't matter because you never see it. This is kind of a no RGB, no glass. You don't see inside the case. It's just a sit there and kind of look a bit like a console, I think. It just looks like, do you know what I mean? If that was the next Xbox and they just did like a choice of like a wood top like that, or even if it was like a carbon fiber top like that, or just a black plastic top like that, I think that would look awesome. Some people might want something that looks a bit more futuristic. I don't know, but I think that would look pretty cool, personally. Let me know, and I will catch you in the next one.